morning. Happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath.
This is something I've always wondered. Why do you guys always sit like so far back? You go to football games, everybody's over here. I always wonder, like, does the pastor spit? Why do people sit so far back? I promise you, I took a shower. It's not great. So those of you who came early, you got to see some of the videos of the STEM Korea mission trip 2019. Pictures of us teaching and playing with the children. We did a lot of playing with the children. There's many Korean games that I've learned in my time in Korea. My favorite is Hongsam. Does anybody know that game? It's an awesome game. I should teach you guys. But the other game that I learned is called The Greatest. Now, this may not be the actual name of the game. It's just the name that I gave it, and it works for today's sermon. But basically, you have a large group of people, and then you divide them up into small groups. And then you tell one person, or you tell each team, send up the person with the biggest nose. And so everybody in their group, they're looking around, comparing noses. And they send in their best nose. And then the person with the biggest nose now has to push a tennis ball across the classroom. So you never quite know what the activity is that you're doing when you choose who is the greatest. And I feel it's kind of the same way as Christians. We think we're going to compare, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is what you're going to do. But God has a completely different standard that He's using, as we can see in the verse. So who is the greatest? I want to pray. As you can probably hear, I am very nervous, shaking as I hold this mic, because I usually have a classroom of 15. There's a lot more 15. So I'm going to ask for a prayer. Father God, thank you so much for giving us another day of life, for giving us the opportunity to learn more about you, to learn about your purpose in our lives. I ask that you bless the words that I have to share, my experiences and my mistakes, that others can be encouraged, that others will grow in their walk, that others can come to know you more and reflect your character better to others who don't know you, who don't understand you, who may have been lied to or manipulated. But I ask that us here, this fellowship, that we share this time reflecting on what you've done in each of our lives. Thank you so much for your love. In your name, amen. So, as I said, I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for a long time. So, when I ask a question, I expect an answer.
Okay.
Oh, good. Well, who's that? Star student. Okay, I'm going to ask a question, and you guys are actually going to answer. These are not rhetorical, and I'm patient. I taught ESL for about 5 or 6 years. I'll wait. You want to eat? You're going to answer. What are the attributes of a leader? This is where you answer. Okay, a leader is patient. What else? Consistent. Confidence. What else? Decisive.
Empowers others.
Oh, empowers others. You're like cheating at my notes. Fun. So we have like lots of ideas of what is a leader, and right now the big push is be the leader at your company, be the leader at whatever you do, be the leader, be the leader. And I'm reading a book on leadership because after this mission trip I realized I knew very little about leadership. You know, when you're young, you think you know everything. You know, you get to like 23, I'm like, I have a degree. I know. Listen to me, I'm wise. And then God's like, okay. So I'm reading a book on leadership that was recommended to me. So if you want the unabridged version, I can recommend the book to you. It's called Servant Leadership. So some of the concepts have come out of here, but then some of the things I have just learned from life. So leaders, as the book explains, and I totally agree, identify and meet the needs of people by serving them. It's a very long way, but I just want to break down to two concepts. First, you have to identify that there is a need. Then you have to figure out, how do you meet this need, and I have to serve people to do it. That's what leaders do. And I know everyone here, you've taken psychology, it's like required for everyone. Does anyone remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Pyramid.
Oh, yes, thank you. This is the answering part. Star student. What is that first level, the most basic of human needs?
Air.
Okay, heard?
Air.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of an organism, but human. So physical needs such as food, shelter, and water. Okay, food and water, we'll kind of put that there. Food, shelter, and water. Does anyone know what a food desert is?
Food desert.
Yes, a place where there's no food. Kind of easy. Do you know that the technical term for this is actually a place where there is no food in an urban environment? Isn't that mind-boggling? You have urban, you have all these people, and yet there is no affordable, fresh food for people to eat. Around the world, and even in our backyard here at Andrews, there are food deserts. There are needs, basic first-level human needs that are not being met in a country as prosperous as ours. Flint, Michigan is one of these places. You guys can go online, I'm not going to get it all here. But can you imagine growing up and not being able to have fresh fruits and vegetables? You grow up your whole life eating packaged foods, processed foods, and food that no longer resembles anything that came out of the ground. I know some of you would like to think that donuts come off of trees. You eat packaged foods your whole life. What impact would that have on your health? Okay, that was not rhetorical. What impact would it have on your health? Negative impact. High rates of cancer, diabetes, obesity. Typically, lower income families have these higher rates of health challenges, and we say, well, why don't they do better? Well, they live in a food desert. Their basic needs aren't being met. So, leaders who happen to be lawmakers have begun to create bills that talk about incentives, financial incentives to bring in grocery stores, to bring in farmers markets, mobile farmer markets, agricultural classes that teach children how to grow their own food. Yes, thank you. I was super excited about this. I'm a dietetic student here at Andrews, and I also studied public health. And so when I think about leaders meet needs, what needs are around us? We always think of, well, how do they feel about themselves? Okay, I know you want to think we're that far advanced, but let's just start at the basic level. Do they have food, good food, real food? The next level of hierarchy of needs, who knows? So the food and shelter, water, what's next? Anyone? I have no stickers to write you.
Isn't that security?
Yes, safety and security. Okay, so once you are eating something and you are protected against the elements, now some countries you may need more protection than others. You want to be safe. How many of you are not born in America? Raise your hand proudly. Yes. How many of you, maybe your parents weren't born in America? Oh yeah. Okay, how many of you were just not natives? Native Americans? Okay, that'd be all of us. All right. We are seeing a rising number of Americans, native born, citizenship is here, leaving America. Can anyone guess the number of American expats right now? Guess. more.
10%.
Not quite 10%.
8.
Close, 9. 9 million Americans have left America. And you're like, hey, food, secure. There's something to eat here. We have a place to live. Can you guess the number one reason they go?
Cost of living, healthcare.
Oh yeah, healthcare. I'm like, Actually, the highest jump was in 2016. People were just like, deuces. But the first reason actually is love. Most people, they go overseas or they meet someone from a different country and they're like, oh, I'll go with you. I get it. Been there. That is the number one reason. But number 2 is quality of life. That includes things like healthcare. Another big motivating reason, cost of living. America is one of the most costliest places to live in as far as like affordable, sustainable, decent housing. Do you know where they're going? Can you guess which countries?
Mexico.
Mexico is number 1.
Canada.
Canada is number 2. Ooh, I didn't see Australia on the list. It's in like central-ish America.
Salvador. Panama.
Close to Panama.
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica, yes. Costa Rica is the 3rd country. Costa Rica actually got to this spot because it was a very high place for people to retire. Costa Rica speaks English, it's a very warm climate, very low cost of living and healthcare. So people are moving out because even though America has that first level maybe need, there's security and safety, whether health safety, financial safety, that need is not being met here in America. I have been watching I can't think of shows now. YouTube, it's kind of a show. And it's called The Melanin Files. It's a show, does anyone hear about Melanin Files? Melanin Files? It's pretty interesting. It's talking about black people who are leaving America. You can understand why it's been very rough. And they're surprisingly moving to Asia. Having a great time too. Hong Kong, Thailand, Korea, Singapore, and the most popular, Japan. So when people have made it out of the first level and out of the second level, the third level, the needs that they want to be met is to belong and to be loved. So when people do move to these places, or they come to America, they usually look for, where can I belong? Where do I feel accepted, appreciated, valued? Our home should be like this. Our church should be like this. It makes you wonder, when people come to my house, or when they're in my presence, do they feel accepted? Do they feel judged? Does my presence foster a sense of belonging? Do I offer friendship or connection? If not, how do we create it? That one is rhetorical, sorry. How do we create it? I want you guys to think. Remember, leaders meet needs. So we're going to go through all the needs. What are the needs that people have? Most people are kind of in that section, I feel, that I meet. Does anyone love me? Does anyone know if I'm here? I remember a certain church that I went to and it was beautiful. I mean, this church was sparkling, like the floors are marble. You know, you go in and the pipe organ is like, wow. It was the loneliest place I'd ever been in. Nobody said hello to me. I mean, the sermon was awesome. But it was a painful experience that I don't want to repeat. And I always, I find myself gravitating towards churches that are friendly. The people are friendly. I don't care what the building looks like or what the pastor, I mean, to a certain degree, I understand what the pastor is saying, but if the atmosphere of the church is not welcoming, I'm very hard pressed to stay. And I always feel that it's a real need for the church to meet that need of other people who are coming and looking for a place of belonging. But it doesn't only have to be our church, it should be our homes as well. Your spouse should feel welcome at home. Your children should feel welcome at home. Your grandparents, or you so blessed to have them, and they come and visit if they don't live with you, should feel welcome to be with you. The remaining levels of the needs, as we're talking about needs, are self-esteem and self-actualization. Now, I'm not going to go into these as detailed as the others for time's sake, but I do want to explain the difference, and you guys can ruminate on it later. Self-esteem is kind of respect, status, recognition, strength, freedom. While self-actualization is a desire to become the best that we as an individual can be. Now, what I find what happens is a lot of people, I'm not saying a lot, I shouldn't use that word a lot. I have come across people who are very quick to judge at the 5th level. They look at a person and says, why do they dress that way? Why do they go there? Why are they with that person? Why can't they do better? Without looking at the other levels, are those met? Maybe they go there because that's the only place they have food. Maybe they dress that way because that's the only clothes they have. Maybe they act in that way because that's how they feel they get respect. That's self-esteem. But we're very quick to jump to level number 5 and say, what they need is. My friend Kat posted online, it said, children seeking attention. And that phrase, seeking attention, is usually very negative. People will often say, so-and-so, fill in the blank of the person, is seeking attention. Just ignore them. Instead, turn the concept around. They're doing it for relationship. If any of you ever worked with kids, as we did this summer, they will do things because they want a relationship. They want to connect with you. Sometimes they only get attention and what they feel is the only connection because of negative behavior, maybe yelling and jumping and whatever. But what they're trying to do is get that need of belonging and love if they've already got the food and shelter and they feel fairly safe. Do we ever say that about people around us? Why do they do that? Look at those people. I challenge you. As someone maybe needing a relationship, I mean, we didn't all hatch out the eggs in the woods and just look to God. He gave us families. He gave us time together. He wants us to be present with each other, listening, observing, patiently waiting and encouraging one another. Can anyone who has their Bible read for me one of my favorite verses, Hebrews 10, 24 and 25. And actually I want 2 different versions, if not 3. Okay, so one over here. And then another. What version do you have, Shannon?
New Living.
New Living. Anyone has a different version?
I have King James.
King James? Okay. And King James? Go ahead.
24 and 25. 10. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day has, let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together, as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near.
Can I get the other translation? One other translation?
And let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching.
Okay, so you see that you can only encourage, I mean not only, but it's best to encourage when you're assembled together, when you can watch and interact and see each other's eyes. It's good to hear each other's voice. I like phone, but video chatting is really helpful. I find that if you guys have ever had that texting problem where you like text something to them and they reply okay and you're just like, kind of okay, what does that mean? You don't know how to take it, but if you see their face, they're like, okay, you're like, okay, they're good to go. Versus like, okay. So assembling together, encourage one another, that's why we fellowship. Now, keep in mind, again, people have this need for belonging, so they could fellowship at church, but if they don't feel like they belong at church, they may go fellowship in a bar, because that's where they feel like they belong. So, leaders, ask what are the needs. And as leaders, we can meet those needs. No, I said needs, not wants. Only slaves meet someone's wants. Okay? Go fetch me such and such and peel my grapes. Okay. How do you know the difference between a need and a want? Anyone?
One you cannot live without it, the other you can live without it.
Okay, I've never heard that definition. That's good. You can live with or without it, need or want. Anything else?
Would it be if it's not on Maslow's hierarchy?
Yes, it could be a part of Maslow. Sometimes there's some crossover depending on what it is. The definition that I have found is a want or a wish is a desire without any regard to the psychological or physical consequence. I thought it was a pretty good definition. So for an example, you ever ask little kids, hey, what do you want? You know. I used to always tell my parents, I want a horse. I grew up in Connecticut, farm country, and we had some stables behind our house, so we would go there and we'd see the horses and people would come and ride, and I'd be like, man, I want a horse. Have you guys ever seen like an Arabian or an Alapalooza, I think? Beautiful, magnificent creatures. So I worked at summer camp, Camp Winnipeg, way up in Massachusetts. They had horses, we can learn to ride. So I had great summers there. And has anyone ever worked at an equestrian center? No? Okay. I will never, ever forget the aroma of the first time I stepped into that stable. Ever. Now, I did make it through, and I know how to ride. I'm an English-style rider, and I can canter and trot and all of that. But I no longer want a horse. The amount of hay those things consume and the shucking of what the hay becomes, I no longer want a horse. Beautiful, magnificent creatures, but the physical demands alone for caring for these noble creatures surpasses my capabilities. A farmer could say he wanted a horse. He could even say that he needed a horse as a farmer. You understand what I'm saying? So I said, I want to have this horse just because I'm not thinking about anything. I said, oh, it looks pretty. I see people who do this, actually like younger people, college age, younger people. And I'll say, oh, you know, what kind of car do you want to drive? Oh, I want a Maserati. I want a BMW. Do you know what the insurance is on that thing? You know it only takes premium gas, right? You over here eating Taco Bell because you have the money. But you want a Maserati. Wants are different from needs. As leaders, you have to discern a want from a need, or you are going to run yourself ragged. So once you have decided this is a need, or rather, how do you decide if it's a need? It takes time. A lot of time. It requires us to identify the true needs. So remember, where are they on the scale? Because it may look like one thing. It may look, oh, he just needs to pull his pants up. Oh, she just needs to dress better. What is her real need? He needs respect. She needs belonging. So leaders have to identify the need by spending time with the individual in their environment. In public health, we call this assessment. It's the first phase. Now, some people and churches, no offense to you guys, I'm just saying what I've seen, they jump right into, we need to do this without the assessment. They just skip that whole lengthy, long process. You don't have time for that, Jesus is coming. So what happens? You end up trying to tell people who live in the Sahara that they need to get more sunshine. You decided a need that they don't have because it's something you think they need. Your intention and intervention has no impact on those people you're supposed to help. And as I said, this happens in evangelism. Now, what happens afterwards? Churches are usually upset, they get mad, they say people aren't committed, or we need something more high tech. Chances are you just didn't assess what the actual need was. One of my favorite books, Ministry of Healing, an excellent book for anybody of any age that can read, of any industry. An amazing book. Mothers, children, college students. This book is gold. Christ's methods for determining needs, he did the assessment. Christ's method alone will give true success in reaching people. You guys have heard this.
Amen.
The Savior mingled with men as one who desired their good. The Savior mingled. Mingling is, you know, I'm like an introvert. Any other introverts? Raise your hand. You hate mingling in small talk, right? Let's just get the meat of the conversation. No, you have to mingle with people. Oh, how's your day? And you have to gain their trust. Mingling takes time. Do you mingle with your families? Do you mingle with your parents? Parents, are you mingling with your children? Do you mingle with the visitors at church? And as you mingle, are you desiring their good or are you judging them? Do you know them enough to have sympathy for them? Because it said the Savior mingled with men as one who desired their good. He showered sympathy for them, which means he knew them. He knew their need. The people that you brush shoulders with every day, do you know their need? Do you know them well enough to have sympathy? And it was after he had sympathy, he ministered to their needs, won their confidence, and then bade them follow me. There's many a church that has said, come follow me, and the community was like, who are you? No mingling. What have you done to earn the trust, respect, love, and devotion for those around you? And for some of you, you have. You've been there for them, good times and bad. You've spoken their love language. You've given them time. But this is another thing that leaders need to do. It takes time to be a leader. Jesus was a leader. People followed him. Despite not having any power, not like the Romans, not like Pontius Pilate, not like King Herod, leaders have both influence and authority, and not just power. Now, I don't know, has anyone taken any management classes on power? Any management people in here? Types of power, business people? Nobody. Okay, one in the back, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna go through this section. I'll try to keep it brief without boring any of you guys that's here, but I think it's really interesting because a lot of people are like, I wanna be powerful. You guys ever play like video games and like, your power is running low. Sonic the Hedgehog? So, you remember that game? But we think we can rule our companies, we can rule our staff with power. Or as well as our homes. We think we can just domineer our way through success. But power differs from authority. There's several types of power. Legitimate power just comes from the status. You are now the manager, so this is your power. This is how a person, well, I'll leave it there. Just know that it just comes from a position. So if they replace you, the position still has power. Nobody cares what you think any longer. Another type of power is information power. This is power because you have knowledge what other people want. People also do this with gossip. Oh, you know what I heard? That's another form of power. Expert power is simply from having knowledge in the field. Now, of course, this is a tricky power to hold on to because what you knew is no longer what it is. Like, I was a pro at coding in high school. Things have changed. I can barely turn on my computer. That's why I use Apple. It's so streamlined. It's easier to create on this. But that kind of power can be taken from you just because you get antiquated, you fall behind. Reward power, you often hear this with parents, they're trying to reward you. If you clean your room, I'll double your allowance because I can't see the floor. And then there's the opposite side, coercive power, and that's basically punishment. If you don't clean your room, you won't be able to sit for a week. Another kind of power is referent power. These are the kind of social network power. This is the kind of power that companies are paying for right now. Who do you know? What people are you influencing? We'll pay you for that. When we sometimes think of the older powers, charismatic power, you know, some people who just walk up and everyone's just like, oh, they're tall, they're good looking. Looks fade. The last one is probably the most encouraging. It's called moral power. And this occurs when someone puts someone else on a pedestal, like, wow, they're like a saint. However, if they ever fall from that pedestal, that power is gone. There's no room for mistakes with moral power. So, power is often what most people try to use to get people to follow them. Which one are you using? Which power do you use with your friends? Which power do you use at home, in your church? How's that power working for you? Do you have any authority with these people? If your power was ever taken? What is authority? Authority is not power. Authority is another skill, like leadership. It is the skill of getting people to willingly do your will because of your personal influence. So someone who has authority in your life, they influence you the most. Now, who influenced you? This is not rhetorical. Who influences you?
Friends.
Friends, okay, okay. Who else?
Family.
Oh, family. Who specifically in family? Spouse, yes. This is what getting married is a super important decision. They will influence you a lot.
You know that.
Oh yes, elders. Yes. It's no, we should have people here that we rub shoulders with that influence us. That's why we spend time together. They should influence you. Anyone else? I thought I heard a voice. Oh, Matt. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sophia. Ooh, yes. Sophia's a great influence on me too. Any others? Any others?
My mother.
My mom. Oh, your mom. Oh.
My mother.
Well, your mom and my mom. My mom is a huge influence in my life. And oh man, my mom, I would do anything for my mom. My mom, I think of stuff, I literally was home for about 10 days, and I was just like thinking of stuff I could do that would make my mom happy. Because she never asked for much. You know, I'm there like scrubbing the floors, like, yeah, she's gonna love this. Taking out the trash, cook dinner. And my mom, because she doesn't ask for anything and she has so much authority in my life, I willingly do. She has an authority. For example, my mom isn't really big into skincare, but I got her these wipes from Korea, the mango seed from the Face Shop. And I told her I was going to go back and do the mission trip. She's like, oh, I like the mango wipe seeds. Could you like pick another one up? I went to 3 Face Shop stores and just like took everything on the shelf. I bought everything because I wanted to give my mom what she wanted. She didn't have to demand, she didn't have to threaten, she just asked because she had authority. She didn't need to use power. So again, I asked, how is power looking in your life? There are many people who influence and have authority in my life. My chair, Dr. Frazier, Dr. Murray, my academic advisor, Professor Burtnack, my financial advisor, Dr. Ayaz. The list goes on and all. But it was built on service and sacrifice, the time they have poured into me. Much of it has been paid in time, a lot of tears. But before I start crying, you guys, you've been to that like crunch right before you're supposed to graduate, and you're just like, I'm giving up the ghost. Yes, that is the crying stories that we're not going to get into. But in the big picture, can you guys think of anyone else in modern history, like recent history, other leaders who've had incredible success using Christ's methods?
Mandela.
Oh, yes, Nelson Mandela. He didn't use power. He didn't demand, he didn't go in there with guns, but he had authority and influence. Anyone else?
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King, yes, I'm going to talk about him in a little bit. Anyone
Gandhi.
else?
Gandhi.
And Gandhi, yes. Other ones we can think of would be Mother Teresa. Oh, these people they're not Adventists, they're not Christian, but they use Christ's method. And they had incredible success. They influence people to work enthusiastically towards identified goals for the common good. Mahatma Gandhi, he, in case somebody doesn't know, led the most successful way to gain independence non-violently. You think of so many countries that the British Empire had, and how many broke away violently in revolts and killing. India was not one of them. He was actually paraded down the streets of England because of his work. Very average guy, average student, very small, 5 foot they say, 100 pounds dripping wet. But he had influence, he had authority. He was also assassinated in 1948, but India has been free. Do you know that King went and studied? He went to India and studied about Gandhi, and that's where he learned what he needed to know for the civil rights. That same service, sacrifice to bring freedom to blacks in America, which has now opened the other door for other immigrants. And just for the record, most black Americans were not considered immigrants. We weren't trying to come here, we were kidnapped. But others have been able to come and been treated better because of what King had done. Many people laughed at Martin Luther King. They were like, we have to use power to fight power. You guys ever heard of Malcolm X, Black Panthers? They said, we're gonna go in with power, that's how we're gonna get free. And it was King. King who was personally threatened. King who had his family threatened, was jailed, had both his home and church attacked with firebombs. He made great strides, and others like Nelson Mandela and Mother Teresa also were able to gain authority and influence that has been recognized around the world because they served, because they sacrificed, and every one of us can serve. Every one of us can sacrifice. We can sacrifice day in, day out, when nobody's watching or when everyone is. Not just a hit or miss kind of serve, when it kind of hits your fancy, like, oh, that sounds like a nice thing to do, I'm gonna go do that today. This kind of sounds weird coming from the person who led a mission trip, but what most of you probably don't know is I've been doing this kind of work everywhere I go, as long as I can remember. Even before I went to Korea, the first time being in 2005, I was working with youth. I saw the need that there was more for the youth to do outside the church than inside. The youth came, they sat, they kneeled, they prayed, they sang, and they left. Nobody expected them to be a leader. And I gave them a challenge. I gave them opportunities to kind of try their wings. Because I understood that if we don't give them that next level, we've got food, we've got shelter, we've got security, maybe the church, they feel like they belong, but now they want to have self-esteem. They want to feel that they're capable. So when the first time I came back after 2005, I moved to Research Triangle Park in North Carolina. And I was a leader of what is now called the Adventist Christian Fellowship. And this was SDA students at Duke, UNC, NCCU, NCSU, that's right, all the different colleges around the area. And basically, our goal was to instill into their characters service and leadership in the church, serving anything around you. Just open your eyes to the needs that are here, whatever your hand finds closest to do. And this could be wherever. Some of our students, they took leadership and they decided to help the neglected elders, the elderly that were either attached to the churches or just nursing home in general. We had a couple pet lovers, so we worked with rescued tigers. That was an experience. You want to hear one of those roar up close. But that's where their passion was, and that's something that they were working with in their field. So they got everybody together and said, we're going to go help and serve these rescued tigers who were in like circuses, who were blind or things of that nature. Some of the students, they decided we're going to help after the Haiti earthquake. Does anyone remember when that happened? The big earthquake. Nobody remembers? Oh, wow, you guys are really young. So they put together fundraisers. They became leaders, figuring out how can we serve those people. Others did North Korean refugees. There were things that children without a country. So basically, sometimes the North Korean refugees would escape to China, and they would get married to the Chinese there. But because the child is both North Korean and Chinese, they get no citizenship from either country. Neither place will give them passports or identification. So these are children without countries, and somebody's heart was burning for that. Other students, they said, I want to help the homeless people in my area. When I did move to Korea, I spent time with my students learning about their needs there. The same programs that you saw us teaching, Creation Health, I did NUSA, because I didn't know Creation Health existed. But I did health program because that's what the students wanted. They said, you know, I don't feel good. I have to wear a lot of makeup. This is part of the reason Asia's so good at makeup. All the girls, they feel like my skin isn't good, I have to wear a lot of makeup. I don't feel very healthy, I'm always at the doctor. So I decided to do a New Start program with there. A lot of them said they felt alone, so I started social programs. Let's get together, instead of let's going to a movie and sitting inside, let's go out to a park. You've got beautiful parks here. I looked at what needs they had instead of saying, oh, why do they do that? And it took me a while to get to that way of thinking. So when the church asked me, hey, our youth want to do things, our youth need to learn more about the Bible, I said, yeah, sure. The only thing I know is Korean because I just got back from living in Korea for 6 years. They're like, okay. So my point wasn't to just go to Korea and, oh yeah, we did a mission trip, that was great. My point was to inspire the youth to become leaders. They had to create their own lesson plans. They had to learn how to manage children, which transfers really well into how to manage people, how to spend time with them. I understand that serving makes me great. Not that I'm trying to be the greatest, like that crazy game we play in Korea, but because it's what Jesus did. He served. He went out, he mingled. He saw people's needs. It's what I want to do because I'm a follower of Christ. There's 2 last verses. If someone could read Matthew 20:28 and Matthew 5:48. Matthew 20:28. Matthew 5:48. Anyone? I hear pages go. So Matthew 20:28.
Matthew 20:28 says, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many.
Yes. So he came to serve, and then Matthew 5:48.
Be perfect, therefore, as your Heavenly Father is perfect. NIV.
So his idea of perfection, like when we get called up to play that game, we think, oh yeah, I'm the greatest because blah, blah, blah. I was a really good Pathfinder. I donated millions to some philanthropic event. But when you get up there and God says, okay, this is what's going to determine the winner, he's going to say, did you serve? Did you become perfect in serving? I want you guys to watch the video that we have, and I want you to notice the time that we spent with the kids to learn about their needs, to bond with them, to mingle with them, and then what impact it had on those who went, and how they feel empowered to be leaders and to continue the work.
This STEM Korea is very personal to me because I came from this country. It's my motherland. And it's been heartbreaking for me to see that there's so many children here who are broken, who are experiencing hurts and woundedness in their lives. Situation have changed from ever since the time when I was here, because nowadays we have multi-ethnic communities are here. Interracial marriages are here. Marriages are breaking down more so than ever. Divorce is rampant. Actually, divorce rate in Korea is #1 in Asia, if not for the whole world. So it's not something that we're proud of, but hurt is here, brokenness is here, and particularly the ministry that we do for children in the context of after-school program at the center, where the Korean Adventist churches are leading. It's a very, very important ministry where so many young people, young kids are coming there. You can tell that they have deficits in their lives, and they're needing care and genuine love and a hug from us and attention. And when we offer those kinds of warm atmosphere to them, they respond, and that excites us. And knowing that we can create a loving community in the context of ministry to children.
So for me, this was an entirely new experience. I've never taught kids or anything of the sorts, so I was a bit nervous at first. Being an accounting and finance major, you don't really have the opportunity to get to, go around to classes or, lecture or anything like that. So I feel like this was a great opportunity for me to have. The hardest part of the entire teaching aspect that I would say was the lesson planning. I'd never come with a lesson plan or worked with children, so I had to find a lot of ways to be able to engage with them. I felt like I was able to best connect with them when I would have them repeat, or I would have them play an activity, or have them tell me about their own culture in relation to the culture that I was speaking about. My favorite part of the entire experience was just seeing how much the kids were enjoying being around me and around just all of the entire group. I think that this was a great experience for them to be able to see what other people were like and, how other cultures are, because our group was very diverse. We had people from Jamaica, from Trinidad, from Mexico, from Colombia, from Korea itself too, and just different cultures from around the world that we were able to represent to the kids in our expedition here.
So we went to Nangek. We were kind of nervous because it was a big group of kids, but it was honestly so worth it. Like, the kids were so excited. They were so passionate to learn English, to learn about Jesus, the way that they had so much energy. It just captured like our hearts. And especially because it taught us how to be responsible, how to be punctual, how to gather a team, how to gather our materials, how to make a lesson plan. And honestly, that showed us how we can work together as a team. And not only work together as a team, become a family and to grow as a family, because that was probably mostly important, was maturing, but also doing it for the children. The children were our main focus and our main aspect. But in the end, not only I feel like we could be a blessing to them, they were more importantly a blessing to us. And because it taught me so much about, being an adult and teaching them about these things, it was honestly the experience of a lifetime.
Being a missionary, it's a great experience. It's a blessing, has been a blessing for me, and can be a blessing for anyone that chooses this path. I read once in this mission trip, I read in a poster, it said, once a missionary, always a missionary. The first time that I heard about the coming to South Korea, I was like, what's South Korea, but what do they need there? And here I realized that yes, they need a lot. The kids here suffer from stress. There's a lot of pressure, not only from the school, but from their families, their parents, and they're so lonely sometimes. And being able to bring out that big smile and that freedom from them, it's a happiness for us. So I think that coming here, it's the best that you can do. Or not only here, just hear the voice from God. Where is He calling you to go? And don't do like Jonah. Just go and accept this challenge.
So as you heard, those who came on the trips, they are more inspired to serve wherever they are. They feel more empowered. They feel that they can do more. But as she said, it's not just a trip. Your mission is to be the hands and feet of Christ. Go, go, go. Go and find the needs. Go with Neil. Neil's here. Neil goes, and there's elderly people who need to know that they haven't been forgotten. Go to help. I know there's been lots of signs for help all over. Help is actually working with Benton Harbor kids, teaching them twice a week. And Benton Harbor has some of the lowest education rates in the nation. In the backyard of the flagship Adventist School of Andrews. Isn't that odd? You'd think we would go to those who are closest to us. So go. Maybe the Lord is asking you to start something. But just think. Don't think for power, but think, who can I invest myself into? Who can I serve? Go.
Thank you, Nicole, for that inspiring talk. So now's the time for open forum, we'll have a chance to ask questions, make a comment about what was shared today. In the interest of time, we'll just limit it to maybe one or two burning questions. Hopefully they're short. So does anyone have a question or comment? Well, that's okay. Let's just talk about it at potluck, okay? All right. How about we let the person go?
what you want us to go and say and do to the world that is hurting around us. Help us to open our eyes to their needs. Help us to mingle with them, to desire their good, and to bid them to follow you. As we depart, Lord, I ask for you to help us to be courageous, to not be terrified, to not be discouraged, to remember that you, our Lord and God, will be with us wherever we go. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.